Alright, so if you have made it to this instructional video, then you are here to learn about how to draw a one-point perspective hallway drawing on paper. So this is for any level, mainly geared towards beginners, people just starting out, people not sure, they maybe understand 1 point, they understand perspective, but they're not sure where to go next or how to apply those skills to an actual piece of artwork. It is also good as a refresher for advanced artists, for any level really. If it's elementary, it can be adapted to that. It can be adapted to a middle school level. It can be adapted to a collegiate level. It can be adapted for somebody who's just wanting to learn this as a hobby. So while this is geared mainly towards high school students as a tutorial, in terms of their essential standards as part of the North Carolina course of study for high school visual arts, it can be adapted for any level as need be, okay? We are going to be focusing on the elements of art, mainly focusing on line and space in terms of perspective and illusion, the idea of taking a 3D concept such as architecture, hallways, or buildings, and applying that to a two-dimensional surface. So we'll be focusing on that in our one-point perspective hallway. You will need 3 materials, that's all for this, 4 maybe. You will need a piece of paper, plain piece of paper. You will need a ruler, and you will need a pencil. Make sure that it has an eraser on there, a pretty good eraser, because you might be erasing a few things here and there, or if you want to add in an eraser, you can go ahead and add that in. So grab your materials and let's get started. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to start by drawing a box using your ruler in the center of your paper. So it doesn't have to be directly in the center of your paper, but try to align it as close to the center as possible. So I'm going to use my ruler. I'm going to draw a small, I would make it more of a rectangular box in the center of the paper, connecting all the sides. And then I'm going to make a little adjustment because I foreshortened it a little bit here. Good. So now we've got our box. I'm going to draw a mark in the center of that box, and that's going to be our one-point perspective vanishing point where everything lines up to. So now we're going to add our walls and our ceilings. So we want to take our ruler, line it up to the corner of the box, and take it out to the edge of the paper. So it may not line up with the corner of our paper, but we want it to line up with that vanishing point. That's what's most important. So we're going to take that line, take it all the way to the edge of the paper. We're going to do it once more on this side, on the top left. Taking that line all the way. Good, and then we're going to do it on the bottom. Continuing to line up the corner of the box with the vanishing point on each side. And we've got one more. Lining it up all the way out. Perfect. So now we've got our box in the center and we've got our walls and our ceilings. I think I'm actually going to do mine in a vertical way. You can do it horizontal or vertical. So we've got our center point here. I'm erasing just a few stray marks that I made. So now we're going to add in the tiled floor. So you want to take your ruler once again, lining it up to the vanishing point, and take those lines straight down. If you need to make extra marks in the box, that's fine. Keep aligning it, adjust and move the ruler as you need to. Just making sure that each time it lines up to that vanishing point so you get that one perspective hallway drawing approach. Lining it up once more. So I've got 4 lines going across. You can do as many or as few as you'd like. So now we're going to add the horizontal lines. These do not have to match up to the vanishing point. They can just go straight across horizontally. Sometimes some of our lines will go completely horizontal or completely vertical, but the remaining lines should add up to that vanishing point. So I'm making my tiled floor here. I've got some different widths. I want it to be a little bit larger as the tiles come towards me, as you see here. So now we're going to work on the ceiling. So in schools, you typically have those square, rectangular, fluorescent lights. So we're going to make those by lining up our ruler, adding 3 marks at the top on one side, and repeating those marks on the opposite side to create our boxes. Trying to line them up as best as possible. Sometimes it's a guessing game, as you can see here with me. They look like they're lined up. I've got my ceiling, so now I'm going horizontal once again like we did with the tile, and connecting those boxes and lines together. I'm having to make a few adjustments. It looks like some of my lines are not necessarily all matching up, but I'm going to make it work. So I'm going to extend that line down here. I'm going to add that, and then I'm going to connect this last light box up here, going straight across. extending that line down, erasing some of my stray marks, and then adding that final line at the top to create those fluorescent light beams. Okay, so now I've got my ceiling, I've got my tile. Now I'm going to work on the side. So on either side you can have lockers, you can have doors, you can have posters, bulletin boards, different things you might see in an observation of a hallway drawing. Since we're doing this from imagination, we're going to imagine what's there. So I'm going to erase a few stray marks, and then I'm going to add lockers here on the left side. So taking the line straight across. Yes, once again, this is a straight horizontal line. I'm leaving a little space so it looks like it's connected to the wall and not just floating. Then I'm going to take this top line here, adding it down, lining up to that vanishing point, and then I've got one more line to add on the bottom. So this time I'm going to be adding vertical lines going straight across to create my lockers. I'm only going to get about 4 lines in just because of the size of the paper here. But if you have a larger piece of paper, you may be able to include more lines and more lockers. Then I'm going to add a line back at the beginning here where it's slightly off the wall in the door frame to look like it's meshed into the wall. So there you go, there's my lockers. So now I'm going to add the slits into the lockers. So I'm going to once again line up my point with the vanishing point, and I'm going to make marks going straight across. As you can see, I'm lining it up, and now I'm making my marks 1, 2, 3, 4, adjusting the ruler. Once again, mark 1, 2, 3, 4. Make that mark one more time, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you can have 3 slits like I do, or you can have 4. So aligning that up with the bottom part, 1, 2, 3, 4. Move it a little, 1, 2, 3, 4, and last one, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now all my lines are in perspective. Now I'm going to add the little box for the combination, going across with the same markings for a top and a bottom. My vertical lines, I'm just going to attach straight up and down. Those do not need to align to the 1 point perspective vanishing point. And then I'm simply just going to draw a circle for the locker combination. I'm going to do the same thing here on the bottom, lining it up, make my marks for the top of the box and the bottom, lining those up on the horizon line to the vanishing point, and then taking my vertical line straight up and down, as you can see. And then once again adding that circle for the lock combination. So those are my lockers. I've got my ceiling, I've got my floor, and now I've got my lockers. So now over here, I'm going to add a piece of a column protruding out from the wall. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So draw a line, a vertical line, that exceeds the ceiling and the floor lines that we've marked. Good. And then you're going to do another one right beside that. Once again, exceeding those lines. You're going to connect those lines that you've created at the bottom, once again lining up to that vanishing point. It may be a slightly odd angle, so adjust as you need to, but still making sure that it aligns to that vanishing point. You can go in and erase the markings on the inside so that you can see where your new line lines up. Good. Erasing those stray marks from the floor lines down here. So now I'm going to go across the bottom, and I'm going to add a short, slight horizontal line. Then I'm going to add one at the bottom. I'm also going to add another one at the top, going straight across. And then I'm going to connect those 2 lines to one another back together to create that protruding column from the wall. So here's my vertical line, connecting those 2 lines. Then I'm going to go in and erase those stray markings. Once again, I just have a few marks. And voila, I have my column coming off the wall. It gives it that little bit more of a 3D illusion. Now we're going to go in and add the doors in the center. I'm just going to do some simple doors. So I'm going to draw 2 lines coming across the center here, such as the bar that would open the door. I'm going to draw 2 lines vertically, kind of encapsulating that 1 point perspective, and then I'm going to add in a few extra lines with details for some windows in the door. You could keep your doors as simple as just adding the bar I just like to add that little bit more of an artistic value to it. Obviously, that's the whole reason we're here, to learn how to create art and artwork. So I think adding in those little touches is just what kind of adds that detail and that value and keeps it going. So you can add as little or as much detail as you want. I like adding in the windows. I think it gives it that nice little final touch of a door at the end of a hallway, even for a school hallway drawing. So there you go. That's our completed drawing. We've got our door, we've got our column, we've got our lockers, we've got our ceiling lights up here, and we've got our tiled floor, all going back to that 1-point perspective. This is it, guys. Good job. Thanks for doing this tutorial with me. Keep it up. Make sure everything lines up. Good job.
Alright guys, so you have your finished product here, your 1-point perspective hallway drawing. Thank you for coming to my instructional video, and I hope to see you next time.